K-State's offense will have a slightly different look in 2024. Besides, of course, Avery Johnson taking over full-time under center. 2 new offensive play callers in there.
That's right. We had Connor Riley on the program back in January after his promotion, and now new co-offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach Matt Wells. All right, Coach, you've been in Manhattan for a few months now. I think your first press conference, you had just gotten here, everything was fresh, but you talked about you knew the stability of this program. You go way back with Chris Kleiman. What have you learned about Kansas State football in the last, 2 months now?
Yeah, probably just the how. Coach Kleiman, Coach True in the weight room, and his staff and these coaches continued to build a program of toughness, discipline, just so committed and selfless too. And those embody the core values that he has in his program. But it's just the how, not so much what, but it's the how behind the scenes and the consistency through the off season, the commitment by the players to do things right and to hold themselves accountable and to allow coaches to hold them accountable, and the willingness to do that, because that's going to be the special sauce that makes this program consistent over time.
Talk to me about your relationship with Connor Riley and how that's growing. I watched an interview from a few months ago, and you talked about how much he knows. People think, oh, he's the O-line guy, right? But how much he knows about the pass game, too, and stuff like that.
The respect from, first of all, my past of watching his 5 O-linemen compete and play, and how well they played together, communication, toughness, and you're like, who coaches those guys? And now you kind of see it behind the scenes, but he's way more than an O-line coach. I mean, he is a guy that understands the passing game. He understands leverage. He understands numbers in the run game as well as the passing game. I just think the friendship is there too, and that's growing, and that takes time. And we've certainly had some good opportunities for that over the last 2 months, so it's going well.
The viewers might be interested as we talk about the offense and as we talk about you and Connor Riley, but when I say the name Avery Johnson, now they're actually all listening at home. What have you learned about who he is as a football player and as a person?
I'd say the biggest thing is just his desire to be great. Some people say it, and then they don't embody it.
Right.
I mean, he, from early in the morning till late at night, every day, whether it was January, on the weekends with me, wants to be coached. Has taken an iPad full of notes over the last 2 months, and just his thirst to improve his game, and again, willingness to be coached, and being open to that, and being receptive, and not thinking he knows everything.
Right.
But an uber talented young man, but behind that and inside in his DNA is a guy that has a strong desire to be great.
Yeah.
What you see is he's accurate. He's very accurate. He has a very consistent release point that's been trained in him from a young age. A lot of me is, for myself, is coaching him from the waist down, coaching his feet, the timing, and then it's his head, in terms of schemes and processing, which are so important for a quarterback outside of his natural abilities, which he has quite a bit.
You're in a unique spot that you've been a head coach and then you go back to being assistant. Tell me about what that takes to do that, and to not, I guess maybe this is just me, it would be easy to be like, well, this is how I did things, or this is how I would do things. But is there a mindset adjustment that has to happen for that to work?
Yeah, and I think that the last 2 years being at Oklahoma with Coach Venables and Coach Levy has helped me maybe transition to this role. I probably am realizing that now, maybe even in this interview. But, I probably wouldn't have been real smooth if it would have happened 2 years ago, and that was not the right timing for me. But I think more than anything, just having perspective of what Connor's going through as the chair at the end of the table in the offensive staff room, and having the final say and plays being run and schemed, having perspective of what Coach Kleiman goes through on a daily basis, and hopefully I can be the best assistant they've ever had in both of those roles, because I have been in those chairs, in that seat. I'm here to help. I'm here to serve.
Right.
I'm here to serve Avery and the rest of the quarterback room, and I'm here to serve the rest of these coaches.
How do you go about that when you take this job? Gaining the trust, not just of Avery, but of a number of these guys, right? We're asking a lot of them to kind of put some of their future and trust the plans that you have, but I'm sure you also develop your plans to them.
Yeah, I think it goes both ways. I think it takes time. It takes intentionality on both player and coach. In teaching moments, here in meeting rooms, in my office, just having fun and being able to talk about non-football things, and just think more than anything a willingness of both sides to be human and to be real, be authentic.
Yeah.
And I think the more you have that and the more time you spend, hopefully trust is earned, both.
Yeah.
You know, me and them, but also in me in different schemes or different techniques. And so that's certainly that's coaching 101, but it's all about relationships.
All right, Coach, appreciate your time, and we look
Thank you.
forward to learning more about your offense as we get closer to the fall.
Yeah, I appreciate it.